Have you ever felt that the people around you started behaving differently, yet you couldn't understand what exactly changed? Maybe their tones softened unnaturally, or their energy around you shifted in ways that made you wonder whether conversations were happening about you when you weren't present. Talking behind someone's back is one of the quietest forms of betrayal, and because it leaves no direct evidence, it becomes even more confusing. Psychologists believe that social behavior always reflects deeper internal conflicts, and much of what people project onto others comes from unresolved issues within themselves. In this video, we'll break down the two most powerful hidden signs that someone may be speaking about you behind your back. Signs that most people overlook because they unfold beneath the surface. Before we begin, subscribe to Mental Dose and join our Telegram community for early access to videos on psychology, toxic behavior, and emotional well-being. Now, let's begin. We often dismiss talking behind someone's back as harmless gossip, but the truth is far more complex. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar suggested that gossip originally helped humans form alliances and navigate trust within early social groups. But when misused, the same instinct becomes a weapon, an indirect form of aggression that damages reputation quietly and strategically. Unlike open arguments, which at least offer clarity, hidden conversations reshape how others perceive you in spaces you don't even see. Jung's concept of the shadow explains why people do this. The shadow contains all the insecurities, jealousy, fear, and resentment we push out of awareness. When people talk about you behind your back, it often reflects the parts of themselves they refuse to face. Instead of confronting their own envy or inadequacy, they project it outward, altering your image in the eyes of others. According to Jung, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to better understand ourselves, but in gossip the opposite occurs. Everything they can't bear in themselves gets redirected at you. The danger is that you rarely hear this negativity directly, but you feel the effects everywhere. Research on indirect aggression by Sarah Coyne shows that hidden hostility can be just as psychologically damaging as open attacks, sometimes even more. Why? Because unclear hostility leaves you guessing. People become distant, hesitant, or colder without explanation. This not knowing is deeply painful because it disrupts your sense of social safety. Psychologists describe this as ambiguous loss, a situation where something important changes without clarity or closure. And in such ambiguity the shadow thrives, causing you to question your own perceptions. This is the psychological landscape in which the first hidden sign emerges. Hidden sign: filtered feedback, disguised as what others think. One of the clearest, and yet most subtle, indicators that someone is speaking behind your back is when a person delivers opinions framed as the views of others. They say things like, "A lot of people feel you've become too assertive lately," or, "Some think you're not cooperating much these days." These comments seem helpful on the surface, but they often mask the speaker's own judgments. Research on social conformity shows that people often hide behind the idea of a group opinion to avoid taking responsibility for their own criticism. Jung would say this is the shadow attempting to avoid exposure. Their insecurities about control, competence, or comparison get projected onto you, protected by the illusion that multiple people think the same. The result is emotionally damaging. Instead of doubting one person, you begin doubting the entire social environment around you. What was originally one individual's projection now feels like a collective judgment. This can slowly erode your sense of belonging and confidence. The long-term effects are even more harmful. Studies on social exclusion by Kipling-Williams show that even subtle forms of being left out activate the same brain pathways as physical pain. When someone implies that others see you negatively, you become hyper-aware, constantly scanning for rejection or disapproval. This creates self-doubt and withdrawal. And as Jung warned, shadow projection doesn't just distort perception, it shapes reality. Once your image is altered and repeated through gossip, the social narrative shifts, and you are forced to respond to an identity you never created. This brings us to the second hidden sign, which doesn't just twist what you hear, it changes how you unconsciously behave. Hidden sign over: explaining yourself without knowing why. Another major sign that someone has spoken about you behind your back is a sudden urge to justify yourself, even when no one has questioned you. You might find yourself explaining your intentions, adding unnecessary details, or clarifying minor things for no logical reason. This happens because your reputation has already been shaped elsewhere, and you can sense the shift even if no one has mentioned it openly. Psychologists call this reputational manipulation, when someone subtly influences how others perceive you without confronting you directly. Jung's idea of the collective unconscious helps explain this. Once a distorted version of you starts circulating, it becomes part of the group's shared perception. People begin responding to you through that altered lens, and your body picks up on the change before your mind understands it. The result is a defensive loop. You begin protecting yourself against accusations you never heard, draining your authenticity, and shaking your confidence. Over time, it feels like you're surrounded by distorted reflections of yourself, each one shaped by someone else's unresolved shadow. The two hidden signs, filtered group opinions and compulsive self-justification, reveal the deeper psychological impact of being talked about behind your back. These signs operate quietly, but their effects run deep. They unsettle your trust, distort your social reality, and pull you into someone else's projections. Jung reminds us that the shadow does not disappear by denying it. It must be recognized consciously. Understanding these signs empowers you to step out of the distorted social narrative and reclaim your sense of self.